Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new installment of Nintendo News Report for Thursday, July 9th, 2015. I am your host, Alexander Kalafi, and this week we are not joined by Scott or Zach, unfortunately, two of our usual co-hosts, but instead we are joined by another one of our usual co-hosts, and arguably someone better equipped for the job, newly appointed news editor, Donald Terrio. Hello.
Hello. I was expecting a slow show this week, and then everything broke in the last 2 hours.
Yes, everything broke. Well, so we got our top story kind of ended up happening in the last 2 hours. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But what else are you thinking of? Because I'm thinking of Devil's Third.
Well, we did get word of the next Splatfest next Friday. And,
I wasn't going to bring it up. I was going to be a gracious winner, Donald.
Well, we won more on the battlefield. Unfortunately, the internet at large was not down with the cats.
Yeah, that was. I think the most surprising thing about Splatfest to me was how less popular cats were than dogs. I thought dogs were going to have an uphill battle in that respect, but it turns out dogs dominated in the popularity department.
Mm.
I mean, I didn't actually play the Splatfest, so I don't even get to like gloat or anything. But it's kind of crazy how seriously a lot of Nintendo fans are taking the results for Splatfest.
Yeah, I think the one next week is going to be a little more interesting though, just because it seems like roller coasters should be more popular than water slides since that's the competition. But I have no idea, so I'm pretty much a free agent at this point.
So, okay, when we think water slides, do you think of like slip and slides, like the backyard ones, or do you think like the ones you might see at like an amusement park, like the big spinny ones that throw you into a huge pool of water?
The latter, the 200-foot jobs that you can see at like at amusement parks.
Let's say water slides referred to either one, because a water slide can be multiple things in multiple people's eyes. Are you leaning towards one or the other?
Right now, I'm leaning water slide, but I can be swayed.
Okay, because I feel like, is it hot where you are?
It is.
Okay, yeah.
We're in about the. I'm just a little bit north of you, but it's really hot right now.
It's been, yeah, 80s, 90s last few days, especially like at night it's been real rough too. I think consistently in the 80-degree range. And I think based on this right now, especially being in the Northeast, it's not difficult to get biased a little bit towards the water slide department.
Exactly.
However, if this was completely in a bubble and I was not considering the weather or how nice it is outside right now, I think I might be more of a roller coaster kind of guy.
Mm.
I don't know. I think it's cool. Like, I'm glad they're not reusing like Rock and Pop or like any of the other ones that have already been done. I think there have only been 3 so far.
Yeah, rock and pop, ramen, and I forget what the other one, the Japanese one. I think ramen ended up winning a walkover, and the cats versus dogs. I have expected like Mario 3 versus Mario World or something like that.
I think that's getting a little too meta, at least for the game's comfort right now. I don't know. Splatoon really seems like the first game in a series. And obviously, it totally, literally is. But I'm thinking a lot about Splatoon and like all the things they can do to really improve Splatoon 2. This game feels a lot like Pikmin 1 to me, where yes, it had a brilliant, brilliant core, but it was also a slightly limited game if you go back and play it, which ended up getting significantly expanded upon in the second and third game. And I think Splatoon is raring for that, and I also think it's raring for stuff like Mario 3, like crazier Splatfest when the time comes. But it's still early in Splatoon's life, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear my dog barking?
No,
Okay, he was just barking. Anyways, what were you saying?
I'm just glad that they're turning these around and they're going to be sort of middle of the month events because the first one being delayed a few weeks and running right into July 4th. We'll probably get more players this time, even if it is on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll be able to play it on Friday night if you're not going out.
Absolutely. And then Splatoon also got a couple new weapons this week, right? It was the Gal something something. right?
The Gal Deck 96 or something along those lines.
Something like that. It was the better Gal.
Yeah, and
then,
the glitter Gal.
Yeah, yeah, and then they also had the Sploosh-O-Matic, I think.
Yeah.
Sploosh-O-Matic is a little bit like an Aerospray. That's the impression I got. It was an Aerospray, but it also has it's either an ink strike or it has those bombs.
It's got the bombs.
That's the one with the bombs. The other one has the ink strike, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes, Sploosh-O-Matic's pretty good. I was playing a little bit with that. I think the way to play Splatoon right now is just when stuff happens, because this game feels a lot like Animal Crossing, just when you can get all these people together for the events. It gives me the same like communal feeling an Animal Crossing game does.
Yeah, I want to get back into it. It's been a rough week at work, so I've just been tired when I get home, getting stuff written up, and I fell asleep on the couch last night. So
Sure.
I need a good few hours on the weekend, I think, just to get back into it. And get ready for Splatfest 2.
Splatfest 2. Splatfest 2. Okay, cool. So then one of the things you might need then, Donald, to wake you up is a relatively fast-paced episode of Nintendo News Report, because we got a lot of stuff to go over, and I think this week it'd be better if we kept it to the 30-40 minute range.
Sounds good.
Okay, Devil's Third is fucked. Let's talk about it. Actually, we don't know for a fact if Devil's Third is fucked because it hasn't come out yet, and I can say, I have no information whatsoever, insider information, as to whether I personally know whether Devil's Third is fucked. But based on the stuff that's come out of Unseen 64 today, it sounds like Devil's Third is pretty fucked, at least in North America. In North America, the thing that came out today is that Unseen 64 is reporting that Devil's Third was dropped by Nintendo of America for publishing in North America, which doesn't mean that it's canceled. It just means Nintendo isn't going to pay to distribute it, even on an eShop scale, which means this could be up to that basically means it's up to Valhalla to find someone to publish it for them, which I don't know if that makes Xseed a potential contender, or if Nintendo still has some involvement and they need to give the okay, and if that would leave Valhalla to have to publish it themselves.
Yeah, I thought about Xseed originally, but the only way I think they can justify spinning up online servers for the game is if it sold on the level of the last story. And given the reason that Nintendo is dropping the game in the first place, because it's a quality issue apparently, I don't see Xseed going for this, especially where they've already got 2 Earth Defense Force games this year. They got enough Kusoge to deal with.
Yeah, Xseed picked up publishing on Earth Defense Force, which pretty much kind of almost makes there no room for another cheap, shitty, but awesome Japanese game like this.
Yeah, and like I said, given the reason the Nintendo's dropping it, because the game is apparently, well, to say it's bad might be understating it if the anonymous previews that were quoted in the Unseen 64 video are to be believed.
Yes.
Then Valhalla may have to just bite the bullet and do an eShop only release on their own, because Itagaki has gone on Facebook, his public page, and said, I am going to publish this game in North and South America. I wonder if that means, we're just going to put it up on the eShop under our own name and publishing be damned.
Sure. Yeah, and then go as far as the quality issue is concerned, which is the part that was more shocking to me. It sounds like it's a disaster. And I'm not, by the way, Donald and I and some other people have heard from outside sources, not Nintendo World Report Nintendo, so if something happens, don't blame us. But we have also kind of heard some rumblings that make it sound like the game could be a disaster.
And look at what the other branches of Nintendo are doing with it. NCL has basically said, yeah, this is going to come out at retail if you buy it from Amazon Japan. NOE is only publishing the game in English. Every branch of Nintendo is burying this game NOA is just going to the extreme end of it and not washing their hands of it.
Right, and if the game is as bad as they're saying, they're making the right move. They shouldn't put the game out and put a Nintendo publishing logo on it, especially in America, which might be their most important territory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Nintendo gave up on like the Rainfall Trio, Fatal Frame 2 remake. I mean, Fatal Frame 4 was another example of a game that Nintendo actually pulled from publishing to try and get Tecmo to fix it. They never did. Yeah. But there's some games I don't know why Nintendo of America has just said nope. But if this game is as bad as has been rumored, then I can fully understand that.
And so there are two conclusive details that were mentioned in the Unseen 64 video. And that was that it looks real bad, like real bad production values 2 generations ago. And the footage they were showing while saying that makes a lot of sense. The other thing is broken aiming. So it's supposed to be a real bad game. I hope it's not. I'm honestly a little surprised because it seemed like it was going to be like Earth Defense Force, where part of the charm is how bad it looks, but apparently it had a real troubled development. But Valhalla was obviously not around for comment.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything. I thought you had something.
Okay, yeah. Let's probably best move on here because if it comes up again, I'll remember later on. But for now, we won't worry about it.
Yeah, hopefully it's great. Hopefully this video is wrong. I don't know if Unseen 64 has been wrong before, but they have definitely been right before.
Yeah, with the Metroid Dread video that came up earlier and what happened with Project Hammer, these guys are on a roll right now. And they're the ones who gave us Know Your Friends earlier this year. So they've got a background in knowing these things.
Yeah, I trust them. Well, I skeptically trust them. I still feel like this could be one of those games where there's a very specific appeal to it, to a very specific type of Japanese video game fan, and I still hope it could be that kind of game. I don't know. I'm not holding out too much hope though. Anywho, moving on to new releases. By the way, the original title for this show, Disney Magical Binding of Isaac Rebirth, we were originally going to use those as our lead stories. We're just going to put them with the rest of the news after these new releases. So we'll still talk about them. We just thought The Devil's Third was important enough to put by itself. Anywho, new releases. The big thing this week, Mario Tennis on Nintendo 64 came out. That's one of the Mario Tennis console games. That's probably fine. But one of the more interesting things is the Epic Indie Sale, in which North American and Wii U eShop owners
and European.
This is Wii U games, right?
Yeah, it's all Wii U games, as somebody I know on a prominent internet message board found out when they tried to buy Shantae on 3DS earlier.
Sure. Okay, so North American and European Wii U owners can partake in this sale. It's some pretty substantial sales, like Bit Trip Runner 2 went from $15 to $6. Gianna Sisters went from $15 to $6. Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive 9 to $4. Like these are like PS Plus tier deals, at least generally.
Yeah, it's 60% off so long as you own one of the games in the sale. Chances are, if you care about this thing, you probably got Guacamelee from the Humble Mini Bundle, so that qualifies you. And if not, there are several games in there that are regularly priced at $1.99. So you buy one of those, and you get all of these discounts.
You said you had most of these, right?
I think the only one I don't have at this point is Shantae.
Okay. That's Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. 7, that's the new one, right?
Yeah, that's the one that came out at the end of last year on Wii U and 3DS. I have the 3DS. I bought the 3DS version pretty close to launch, but I do want to see it in HD.
Okay, cool. So that's $7.99. By the way, just going down the list, I won't list all the prices, but I'll list all the games. It's 60% off. There you go. Bit Trip Runner 2, Edge, Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition, Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive, Mighty Switch Force 2, Rush, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, Spin the Bottle Bumpy's Party, Swords and Soldiers, Toki Tori 2 Plus, Trine, and Trine 2. So some real good deals if you don't own those games. I can say Toki Tori 2 Plus is a super excellent, really underappreciated game. I can say Bit Trip Runner 2 is a super good game, though I personally prefer the original teensy tiny bit more. Guacamelee, a lot of people like it, but you probably already own it. Wasn't for me personally. And then Shantae seems like it's a great game, though I have not played it yet. Trine 2, also pretty good if you like that specific style of puzzle platformers.
Yeah. Runner 2 and Guacamelee were both in my top 10 when they came out in 2013. And Shantae, well, we'd probably be more excited about it if Zach was on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. He loved the heck out of that game. Did he review it, do you remember?
He reviewed both versions, I believe, and I think he liked the 3DS one a little bit more, but he still gave a really good score on the Wii one.
I think it must have been 9 range, if not very high 8s.
Yeah.
Anywho, the other interesting thing this week is that Persona Q is on sale on the eShop this week for $30, which is 200% of the price it should be, in my opinion. Or at the very least, 200% of the price I am willing to pay.
It's an Atlas game. It's moving slower than traditionally Atlas games do through the sale rotation, but it is dropping down a little bit. If the price of the game the base price of the game hadn't gone up in Canada to $59.99 to get the 40% off, I might have bought it already.
Yeah. So you don't have the game at all.
Oh, I do. I want to get it digitally, but I also have to wait about a week and a half for the larger 3DS memory card to come in.
How many gigs?
128.
Ooh, did you already fill up a 64?
I cannot put Persona Q on my memory card as it stands right now.
And Persona Q, that's like 10,000 blocks. That's one of the big ones, right?
It's like I think it's like 14,000.
Wow. Okay, cool. I think for comparison, Resident Evil Revelations, which is widely considered one of the biggest Nintendo 3DS digital games, is like 18,000 to 20,000, I think.
Actually, it's 25,000. It's the third biggest game on the eShop. Bravely Default and Xenoblade 3D are a bit bigger.
Okay, so Xenoblade 3D is probably in the 30-35 range?
It's high. It's 28,800 something, and I believe Bravely Default is 26,000 something. I know about Bravely Default because I actually did buy that.
Okay, cool. Anyways, when this game hits $15, I will buy it immediately. Persona 3 and 4, incredible games. This is a spin-off based on those, but I also don't love Etrian Odyssey that much, so even though I have to buy it, I'm trying to be smart about the context I buy it in. Anywho, moving on to news. Binding of Isaac is actually coming to new 3DS and Wii U. On April 1st, there was some word that it was coming to new 3DS and Wii U, but the way the press release was written, it sounded like it was a joke that was like a mean slight against Nintendo fans. Do you remember this, Donald?
How they were basically censoring the entire game, except for the fact that it was a roguelike. Yeah, that seemed like a bit of a, shall we say, a dick move. But yeah. We finally have confirmation that it's coming. It'll be next Thursday, or actually no, not next Thursday, the 23rd, I believe. It's 2 weeks from now. Unfortunately, it's coming out the same day as 3D Streets of Rage 2 now, so I kind of have to prioritize.
Yeah, the Streets of Rage 2 is the better game, in my opinion. Binding of Isaac Rebirth, some people really love it. I personally think the original Binding of Isaac is a slightly more fun game. I played Binding of Isaac Rebirth on Vita. Pretty good on there, but again, I prefer the way the original handled and looked and felt a little better.
Yeah. My crippling allergy to roguelikes is the main reason I sort of deleted the game off my Vita after about an hour or so of trying it on a train one time. But be warned, this game is M-rated for a damn good reason.
Yeah, it's
It it
yeah.
was hard to find safe for work images of that game to put on the site.
Right, because we have to put a picture on that big thing of images, like right on the home page, and then Donald had a hard time for about 5 or 6 minutes actually finding something he could use. Yeah, the Binding of Isaac is a tough game to play. In the same way, Hotline Miami can be tough to play or watch if you're averse to some super graphic stuff, even in a cartoony context. I mean, it deals with fetuses, it deals with a lot of blood, and it deals with them in a sense of humor that may actually make the game a little harder to play for some people. I don't know. Many people won't have to worry about it, but if you are worried about graphic games, Binding of Isaac might not be for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to see that because I don't think you want to play this game on a TV, so that kind of rules out the Wii U version. But this is like the second new 3DS only game to actually release. So, I think the crossover of people who would want to play Binding of Isaac and who own a new 3DS is probably pretty good, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. Actually, yeah, we need to talk about that. How it's the second new 3DS exclusive game on the eShop, and this was following comments from Reggie Fils-Aimé, I think, where he
Yeah,
was saying that we do have some plans for new 3DS, but expect them in the way of eShop games mostly, if not
right.
entirely. I
Like
don't.
they,
Mhm.
yeah, because they've got Unity running on the new 3DS, but not the old one. So if anybody wants to bring a Unity game over, they have to go new 3DS for it.
So you think that's how they're going to drill most of their support for this system, if not all of it?
Right.
Do you think Nintendo is ever going to have a new 3DS exclusive retail game again?
Exclusive, no. I could see maybe like Pokemon, the next mainline Pokemon game, maybe having some enhancements in the same way that Black and White games did for the DSi. But I
Okay.
think exclusive at this point is probably a non-starter, given when I think the NX handheld form is going to come out, which is like end of next year.
Do you think they're going to launch at two different time periods, whatever the NX handheld and console are?
Yeah, I think the handheld is next year because the 3DS is getting really long in the tooth, admittedly, but it's
Mhm.
going to go out with a bang. I think they can stretch another year out of the console with what they've got and probably some things that we kind of suspect are coming next to the Wii U, but aren't confirmed yet. Those sort of things could fill out the schedule for next year, plus Zelda, and then some token support for Wii U in 2017, same way that we got in 2012.
Cool. Okay, that makes sense then. Because they would have to reveal both NX systems if they are going to be a shared platform, especially if the 3DS successor is coming out next year.
Yeah.
Up next, Dragon Quest 7 and 8 are coming somewhere other than Japan on 3DS. It was the Japan Paris's Japan Expo. Dragon Quest series creator Yuji Horii confirmed that the games would be localized for France at least during a panel. Was it devoted to him or was it devoted to the series?
It was a series panel, but Hori was speaking at it. It was largely there to promote Dragon Quest Heroes for the PS4 in the West. But at the end of it, Hori said something that the translator got a little freaked out when he said, "Yeah, we want to play. You're going to be able to play this game in French," which which I'm taking to mean that they have to localize it in French. They may as well do the other European languages, the big languages, and then at that point, they can flip a switch basically to switch the region to North America. We've dealt with British English in RPGs before. Hell, is that a blip?
Do you think it's
But
going to be what? Go ahead.
but the only thing is now Square has come out later and they've made statements on the order of, oh, if you want these games, you're going to have to buy Dragon Quest Heroes. Hey, Square, because if you're going to make me buy a game for a system I don't own in a completely unrelated genre for for the promise of games that I actually want to play, that is a dick move.
Is there any chance that they end up doing a 2-pack with these games? Or is there a better chance that they do what they did with Danganronpa and Hatsune Miku on Vita last year, where there was just one that came out at the beginning of the year and one that came out at the end of the year?
That's what I'm thinking because they did. I think when they did 4 and 5 on the DS, like 4 came out in September of '08, and 5 came out in February of '09. So they're not adverse to launching Dragon Quest games close together. I don't know what that did to the sales of the two games, but it probably didn't help it. But in both cases, it seemed that the one they put out first was the one that had a little bit less demand on it.
Yeah.
And because 7 is sort of a black sheep, apparently the 3DS version makes a bunch of changes that make it easier to play, but that's more of a we'll have to wait and see. Whereas 8 is the one that if it didn't sell the most because it had the Final Fantasy 12 demo, it was pretty close to selling around what 9 did, and that's the one that most people love, even if it's going to take a bit of a graphical hit from going to the 3DS. From PS2, it's going to run a little bit better, and they have enemies on screen.
Do we know how well Dragon Quest IX sold?
In the West, where Nintendo was publishing it, they did say it sold 1 million. It's just Nintendo was a little squirrely because during the 2 Dragon Quest games they put out after that, which were 6 and Monsters 2, were late-era DS games, which means between piracy and just general apathy, they bombed.
Okay.
So I think that definitely scared Nintendo off from continuing the relationship, and I think it scared Square as well, because they're trying to take it back now. Then again, they announced Dragon Quest Minecraft for Japan, and that's PS3, PS4, and Vita.
It's crazy how huge of a disparity there is between Dragon Quest's popularity in just the West as a series versus in Japan as a series. Like, yes, it's a very Japanese franchise that's going to be bigger in Japan, as many series are, like Final Fantasy. But at least Final Fantasy is extremely popular in the West in the same way it is in Japan, even if it's on in a different type of way. And like a lot of Japan, even Persona, like at least Persona is recognized as super high quality, even if it actually, those are both terrible examples, because I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy does comparable, if not better, in the West than Japan. And I know for a fact that Persona is a more successful franchise in the West for Atlas than it is in Japan.
Well, I think the example you're looking for is probably Monster Hunter, then, because
sure.
Mm-hmm. Because sure, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate did 1 million in North America in I believe 2 months, but it did that in Japan on opening day. That's probably the closest modern comparison to what Dragon Quest does, comparing the West to Japan.
It's just weird how like it's not clicking in the same way Final Fantasy did. Although Final Fantasy touches on like real world, like Final Fantasy touches on realism way more than Dragon Quest does. Yeah. And if any territory prefers realism over fantasy, it is North America.
Yeah, and Dragon Quest still has a lot of the older tropes that kind of hold it back in the West, like having to go to the church to save every time. They've gotten away from random encounters in the last couple of games, thankfully, but that's another thing that really, unless you're Pokemon, you can't really get away with random encounters anymore.
Excellent. Next story, Skylanders and Amiibo got a couple new stories this week. Dark Pit Amiibo is Best Buy exclusive and is not doing any pre-orders. And Palutena, it sounds like word came out, though I don't know if this is confirmed, that it is not a retailer exclusive.
Right.
So do you think, at least for Best Buy, and probably with everyone, that they're just not doing pre-orders for Amiibo anymore?
I know that EB Games in Canada has stopped doing pre-orders for Amiibo, but I believe that was a factor of the pre-orders for those Amiibo came up right before a long weekend, so those Amiibo got over-allocated, like they got over-pre-ordered badly to the point that EB Games said no more. For Best Buy with this Dark Pit, I think it's more of a we want to get people in the stores. We want to have that lineup. So we're not going to do online orders. We're not going to do pre-orders for them in store. You're going to have to go there day one and possibly buy something else while you're picking up your Amiibo.
Sure.
The fact that they have limited it to one per person, well, I hope that holds because I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm going to walk out there with four." It's like, are you bringing a posse with you to buy all these Amiibos? But
Mhm.
I can say as well that they sort of seem to be getting their act together with some of the older unicorns. I was able to order a Marth and a Pit this week.
Okay.
So Dark Pit might be exclusive to Best Buy, but hope that there's probably going to be plenty of supply available for that. Like looking at what Greninja had, like 90 at a store on launch day in my little podunk town compared to the rest of the bigger cities in the U.S., that's going to go well for them.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking a lot about like consoles, like how GameStop and EB Games do consoles when they come out, and that when a console comes out, they know that a lot of people want these consoles. So what they do, and BJ's and Sam's Club, which I don't know if you have those in Canada.
We've got Costco. I don't know about BJ's, but
It's the
Sam's Club I
same.
know.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
They do these console bundles where they force you to pay like 200 above MSRP, but they throw in a bunch of games, usually one game you want, a few games you don't, and a controller. I wonder if they would do a similar thing for Amiibo, where, hey, we got the super rare Amiibo, but to get it, we're not going to let you pay $13. You got to buy this game, and then we'll let you buy the Amiibo as part of a bundle.
You mean what they're doing with Chibi Robo?
Exactly, except it's on a retail level.
Well, I know that the day that the new Amiibo came out, the Wave 4 or the last Wave came out, that same weekend my local EB happened to be selling Codename Steam, which uses Robin and Lucina for $13. So that if they ever need to clear Codename Steam stock, that could be a pretty nasty way of doing it.
That's the ideal situation. Imagine this, like an alternate universe where Amiibo picked up beforehand, where instead of getting a Majora's Mask pin, for pre-ordering Codename Steam, you get a ticket and the privilege to buy a Lucina Amiibo on launch day.
God, we should not be giving them ideas. Like, can we stop the tape here?
And it sort of your gift for pre-ordering Codename Steam is the privilege to another pre-order.
Yeah.
That's the dark Blade Runner future we're looking at.
Truly the darkest timeline.
Also, Skylanders revealed new news this week in their Amiibo. So they're going to be doing a dark edition for Skylanders Trap Team.
Or like they did with Trap Team, yeah. They're going to have...
more superchargers like they did with Trap Team, which for other consoles it seemed like it came with dark versions of some figures, like some limited variants. The Wii U and Wii versions of this game are going to include a Chaos Trophy that unlocks game content, double-sided poster, the figures Spitfire and Dark Hot Street. But the Wii U version will have a dark turbocharged Donkey Kong and a dark Barrel Blaster, while the Wii version will come with a dark Hammer Slam Bowser and the dark Clown Cruiser. So in the same way Skylanders have had their extremely rare variants with the first and second, and I guess even the games after that, the Wii U and Wii versions of this game are going to have their extremely rare variants.
Can we unpack for the moment that you have to buy a Wii game to get Amiibo?
Yeah, you have to. They're preemptively clearing out that stock.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool business sense of them.
Okay, yeah. So to get all these variants of the Amiibo, you have to buy 2 copies of the Wii U game, a copy of the 3DS game, because I think the Bowser regular variant is 3DS exclusive, and a copy of the Wii game, And then if you want all the figures in general, you also have to buy on another platform.
Yeah, I doubt there is still someone so many years later who is a completionist Skylanders collector.
There is. He's one of our forum moderators, known as Uncle Bob.
He's still going for completion 5-6 years later.
Yes, like he has asked people going to E3, hey, can you bring me back to Skylander? I mean, I smuggled Kid Icarus into the States for this guy because of some games exclusive pre-order bonus, but I think even he has reached a breaking point with this.
I wonder how much he spent on Skylanders over his life.
I'd like to know where he gets all of his disposable income because Uncle Bob also owns 8 GameCubes to set up his own Mario Kart Double Dash LAN parties.
That's irresponsible and unacceptable. Uncle Bob, if you're watching the show, you probably aren't. But if you are, I want to know how much money you've spent on Skylanders in your life. If you do, on next week's show, I will tell everyone how much money you've spent on Skylanders. That's what I'll do as a favor for me.
Yeah, that's Uncle Bob. He's one of ours, but yeah, I wish I had his disposable income.
Anyways, we got one more story this week. This one's another self-indulgent story, in the same way Dragon Ball was last week. This week it is Disney Magical World 2. It was revealed initially for the first time a few weeks ago, but finally it got its proper player PV trailer that a lot of Japanese games. It got its big reveal. Disney Magical World, if you never bought it on 3DS when it came out last year, is a fantastic game. It was originally made by what's the team's name? It's like Hand, Hand, right?
Yeah.
It's like H period, so on. Anyways, it was published by Namco Bandai, I think, in Japan. Or did they make it?
I think they did publish it in Japan, but I remember Nintendo picked up the Western publishing rights.
Yes, Nintendo published it over here in the same way they did with Bravely Default, and especially like Yokai Watch. Like, it was one of those deals, but I think Nintendo took even greater control for it. Anyways, it came out last April. It is a fantastic game. I think it's ideal for people who like that grindy, fun, cozy, collect-a-thon nature of Animal Crossing. And I never played Fantasy Life, but it is made by the same team. Or at least it's made by a team that got partial credit on Fantasy Life. From what I know, there are some similarities. Like, it's a similarly light action RPG. It similarly focuses on really comfortable grinding. And the charm in Disney Magical World is unmatched. I mean, outside of something that Nintendo would put out themselves. And it has like an immaculate level of polish. Have you ever played this game, Donald?
I haven't, just because for whatever reason, Disney doesn't really appeal to me as much as it does with the people. So it's something that I've probably passed on because of the name. But if you're bringing up Fantasy Life, I might have to give it a look.
I think Neil might be a better person to ask, because I think when we did the Game of the Year stuff last year on this show, Neil was going to pick up Disney Magical World, or he was thinking about it, and he loved the heck out of Fantasy Life. I would do research, but I'm pretty sure there are parallels between those two games. Anyways, it's an amazing game. If you love Disney, but don't necessarily love most of the video game output that comes from Disney properties, you might love this game. Just to the audience, you might love this game, especially if you love Nintendo stuff, which you probably do because you're watching this show.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was my recommendation for Disney Magical World. This game comes out on November 5th for 5,690 yen. Over 100 Disney characters, 120 Disney characters, and 3,000 items will appear in the game. There's a lot of designing your own home, designing stuff, collecting stuff, dressing up. It's very Animal Crossing-like in that way. So there's more of that. You'll be able to shop, stroll about, go on adventures, fish, work the field, excavate gems, create outfits and furniture, and enjoy various events with Disney characters. You'll also be able to decorate your own cafe with a Disney-themed interiors. The new worlds in the sequel are that of Frozen, The Little Mermaid, Snow White, and Lilo and Stitch, Alice in Wonderland, and Winnie the Pooh return from the previous game. Zero of those Disney franchises appeal to me. As like an individual, I think zero of them appeal to me. I would still get this game because of how much I like the first one.
Yeah. And, of course, this being Disney, they've got to shove Frozen into everything.
Yep, absolutely. I'm trying to remember what the worlds were in the original Disney Magical World. I think it was, they had Winnie the Pooh and Alice in Wonderland. I know that, obviously, they said it here. They had Aladdin. I think they might have had Peter Pan. I'm trying to remember, but they had a better mix of stuff as opposed to this one, which seems to skew younger kids and especially younger girls. I would think, especially from a marketing perspective.
I seem to recall they had like a pink 2DS that launched with the game, and it had the game bundled with it.
Right, and then this game, they put out the Disney Magical World 3DS XL in North America last year, and for this game, they're also going to be releasing a new 3DS faceplate for this game. I'm trying to figure out what the worlds are. Oh, okay, so there's 4 main plot lines. Never mind, one of them was not Peter Pan. There was one in Cinderella's world, one in Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland, one in Hundred Acre Wood, and one in Agrabah from Aladdin. So I guess that one sort of skewed female too. But so maybe this one won't even bother me. Maybe the skewing further towards the demographic won't be too not exclusionary, but I guess exclusionary would be the right word. Anywho, I hope this comes to North America. I'm not sure exactly how the game sold over here, but I just know that before the game came out, it had moved 500,000 copies in Japan. And I'm pretty sure that as of now, it's moved closer to 1 million. I think I read that in a story. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's moved towards 1 million since its release in North America.
Yeah, so it's probably crossed 1 million when you include the Western sales at this point.
Sure. Okay, I think that's our show for this week.
Yeah,
we're going to do one. Go ahead.
Just one last bit of late-breaking news. It just actually came in during the show. We just caught it.
Okay, cool.
New Splatoon map coming tomorrow night, the Moray Tower.
But they just did new weapons like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah, they do. They're on a 2 updates a week schedule now, which is with the weapons and then a map update at the end of the week.
Do we know what the map is?
I don't know if it's one that leaked. I'll be doing some more research on it once we're done here. But all I've seen is just the image from Nintendo America's Twitter.
Okay, I wonder if it's one of the ones from the single player, like I think one of the maps was, or if it's actually like a fully from the ground up new map.
I don't recognize it, but I haven't played much of the single player, so it's possible that it could be a repeat.
That's really exciting. I'm really happy about Splatoon because I think I'm actually going to max out my online level, like to level 20 sooner or later, which is something I would never do with an online game otherwise.
Just be glad they don't have you starting level 1 again after that.
Yeah, there's always Splatoon 2. I think Splatoon 2 is going to get more aggressive, and it's going to take more influence from popular shooters. But that's just a prediction. Maybe Nintendo's going to do things in their own little bubble, and then Splatoon 2 is going to be amazing for the same reason Splatoon 1 was, which was because they did it in their own bubble.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our show for this week. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to try to do these on Thursdays again, as often as possible. Either way, there's going to be a show every week. Of course there is, until this show shuts down for good, which hopefully isn't anytime soon. There will be a show every week. It's probably going to be next Thursday. It's probably going to be at 9:30 p.m. Either Zach or Scott will hopefully be there. Donald's gonna 99% be there anyways. I assume, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, cool. Donald's on Twitter at Donald Mick at DonaldMick. You can also find him on his other podcast, Nintendo Free Radio. That's on Twitter at NFR Podcast, right?
Yeah, we did it before RFN did, actually.
Okay, cool. So they got better social media game than RFN. And then I'm on Twitter at CULAFIA. That's Kalafi. And then first letter of my first name, Kalafia. You guys know that probably. Anyways, bye guys. See you next week.
Bye.